What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Spittin' Fire. I'm your host, Derek Harper, and today's guest, we have Pastor Mike McFarland from Portage, UPC. Pastor Mike, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm anxious. I'm excited. I thank you for the invite. It means a lot, and we'll see where this goes.
So, how are you when it comes to eating hot food?
I don't eat a whole lot of it now. I grew up in Louisiana, and everything we ate was hot. And I think, over the years, just having eaten so much of it, now I stay away from it. So this is going to be interesting.
Definitely going to be interesting. So you ready to get started?
Hey, let's go.
All right.
All right.
Not bad, right?
Got a little kick. But it's not too bad.
All right. So you grew up in Moss Bluff, Louisiana.
That's right. Yeah.
Where you went to church and was a student at Jackson College, where you received not one, but 2 degrees. What made you ultimately move to Indiana and become the man you are today?
Yeah, there's a long answer to that short question, but yeah, I grew up in Moss Bluff, Louisiana. Pastor Hodges was my pastor. My mom and dad were the music ministers at the church, and so I love music. It's been instilled in me. In fact, some of my earliest memories from that is I remember playing Nintendo in my bedroom, and it was a smaller house at the time, but I remember my dad had the whole choir over for choir practice in our living room. And so I had the Nintendo, I had it turned up as loud as I could because, that was where my priorities were at the time. Mm-hmm. But with that raising and upbringing, it instilled a love for music, for worship music, and even now, preaching, I use songs and lyrics to songs in my messages, and I guess one of the things that I do regret is that I didn't learn how to play the keyboard because I could integrate that in preaching. But yeah, growing up in Moss Bluff, Louisiana, I talk about that church quite a bit at my home church at PUPC because it was bright blue carpet. And it was like bright blue. Like I think it came with a battery. Like it was, and it's just some of those things you never forget. Just I remember one time, how your pastor would preach about the rapture, and as a young man, 7, 8 years old, yeah. You just want to make sure you're ready. And I remember one night I fell asleep under the pew. But I didn't fall asleep under the pew that we sat in. I fell asleep under the choir bench, which was on the platform. Well, after service, my parents thought that I went with my grandparents home. My grandparents thought that I went with my parents. And so by the time I woke up, it was pitch black in church. And I thought that the rapture had taken place until the police came in the back door and I realized that there was still time. But no, just fond memories of growing up in Moss Bluff, Louisiana. And then, after graduating high school, I went to Jackson College of Ministries in Mississippi, and I was there. It was a 3-year course, and graduated with theology and missions, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome.
Loved it, yeah.
So what made you come to Indiana?
So when I graduated Bible college, 2 of my teachers were, one was pastor in Las Vegas and one was his assistant pastor. And so when I graduated, they asked me to come out there to be their youth pastor. And out there I met my wife because she went to that church, and so we started dating and got married. And we moved. We got married in Louisiana. So I was in Las Vegas for 3 years, from 04 to 06. Then we got married in '07 in Louisiana. And as soon as we got back from our honeymoon, my wife's mother found out she had breast cancer. And so we moved up in 2007 to support her and be with her. And we were here for about five or 6 months, and then everything kind of stabilized. And so we moved to South Carolina to help my uncle, who pastors in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay.
And we lived there for 2 years. And then after those 2 years, we decided to move back to Indiana, and that was 2010. And so we've been here ever since.
Cool.
Loving it, yeah. So we've kind of been all over the place, but this is where we're supposed to be, and
awesome.
So we love it.
Yeah.
All right. That's got a little more. Feeling it a little bit more.
Yeah. It gradually gets worse.
That's good. Good to know.
So before you became a preacher, you talked about it a little bit. Your first ministry was a worship leader.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know that. Your parents was, like you said, worship leaders at your church for 17 years.
Yes.
17 years is a long time. So music has always been an integral part of your upbringing. So being a worship leader at one time and coming from a family of singers, is it easy for you to just sit back and just focus on preaching? Or are there times where you feel like you want to grab that microphone and sing with the praise team?
That's a good question. I mean, I love it all, and I think it all, like I said, it all goes together. When I'm preaching, because the message is in the song as well. So when we sing, they're singing a message. They're singing, how great is our God, and so yeah, there are times I want to grab the mic and sing with them just because it's who I am. It's just part of my upbringing, and that's actually what led me to Bible college, is because my parents, being the music ministers, they would go to Jackson College of Ministries. Every year they had a week national music ministry conference, and they would go and get music to teach the choir, and they would come back. And so that's how I knew of JCM. And so when I graduated high school, I did go to a couple of years of secular college, but it hit me one time in class. I was just just doing classwork, and I found myself writing a sermon, writing a message. And in that class, I just remember where it was as if God was just letting me know that it was time to move on, to go do what He had called me to do way back when I was 15 years old at Tioga, Louisiana was where our campground was. And I remember praying over off on the side, and I wasn't praying so much because I was very spiritual. I was praying because the sooner you prayed, the sooner you could go out and play late night volleyball.
Okay.
And so, but I was praying, and I remember someone coming over and praying for me. I remember who it is. He put his hand on my shoulder and was praying with me, and then he started speaking what the Lord had told him. And it was basically that God was calling me to the ministry, and so that's what led me to Jackson College of Ministry. Because when I got up from that prayer, I kind of fleeced the Lord. I was like, all right, I calling me to the ministry, but you're going to have to show me and tell me where to go. And He didn't have to do that. And quite often in my ministry, He hasn't shown me. But here on this particular night, He did. I remember standing up in that big, large Coliseum, that auditorium. It was probably about 3,000 people there. And I remember just, all right, God, you got to show me what you want me to do. You're calling me to the ministry. And so I stood up and looked towards the back of the auditorium, and everything kind of blurred out except Jackson College of Ministries booth there at the very back stayed in focus. And then it was like, Lord, not only are you calling me to ministry, now you're calling me to Bible college.
Yeah.
That was not in my plans. And as I've learned, and as you probably know yourself, our plans that we write down and show to God aren't always
Right.
how it happens. And in fact, he says, I know the thoughts that I have for you to give you an expected end. And so, where I would have drawn a straight line to Portage, Indiana from Lake Charles, Louisiana, or Moss Bluff, that's not how it happened. It went over to Jackson College of Ministries, and the line of my ministry went over to Las Vegas, Nevada, and then it went to Louisiana, up to Indiana, down to South Carolina, back to Indiana. And so, but when you pray, Lord, order my steps, that's what he does.
Wow.
And so it wasn't my plans and it wasn't my ideas, but it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but the joy's in the journey. So you can't spell journey without J-O-Y.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Wow. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Really cool.
All right.
So, you are currently serving Section 1 as a Sunday school coordinator and have been for the last 6 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question is, how important is it that we as the church focus on reaching our kids as much as we do reaching everybody else? And what is one way to reach our kids and get them to come to our church?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important that we're always reaching for our children. I am so honored, humbled that these great pastors in Section 1, we have a great section. Love every pastor, every church family. We're blessed in Section 1 with great leadership, but for them to vote us in as the children's ministry coordinator is humbling and honor. I love it. I see the impact. As I've mentioned, I was that kid growing up. I was always at the campgrounds. My grandfather, my dad's dad, we called him Papa McFarland, one of my heroes, taught me so much. But he was always working down at the campgrounds. So I went even before I met the age eligibility. We were always running around the campgrounds and just grew up Tioga, Louisiana. But going down to youth camp and having a youth pastor or one of the preachers or just one of the adults working, just go over and pray with you and pick you for an all-star at softball and just encourage you and let you know that you're important, that it doesn't matter that we're just little snotty-nosed kids and we get into mischief, and there were food fights during the day, but at night at the altar everybody was praying through, and men like Merle Ewing preaching, and just got a great heritage, Brother Anthony Mangan, and but I felt the impact, and I felt loved, and I felt that just that encouragement that you can do something for God. You can do something in the kingdom of God. And so that's always, even the youth pastor that came over and put his arm around my shoulder the night that I felt called to the ministry, that's a life-changing moment that I'll never forget. I still, to this day, I can go to that man and say, thank you for being sensitive to the Lord. And so my prayer is that we would always be like that I would be like that we would always reach for the young people, our children. And so even at church, we have a young platform. I love it. We have young people that sing and play instruments and lead worship. They testify, and I love it. Believe it or not, in the youth group growing up in Moss Bluff, I was scared to death to speak in front of people. So when they would call on me to stand and testify, that was that was quite an ordeal for me, because I was shy, I was bashful, and so I'd stand up and I'd immediately just start crying. And it wasn't because I was spiritual, it was just because I was scared and everybody's looking at you. And so thank the Lord, eventually I got over that. And because when God calls you, He gives you what you need, and He'll help you get over that. But I think, ways that we can reach our children today, our kids today, our young people, is just by loving on them. Just letting them know genuine love, that they're valuable, that they're important. Despise not the small things. Let no man despise thy youth. That they're not the church of tomorrow, they're the church of today. And so, get busy, do something for God. I'm gonna grab one of these now.
Okay.
Starting to feel the heat. But yeah, just loving on them, using them, letting them know they're important, they're valuable, because they're valuable to God. I mean, He said, "Suffer not the little children, let them come unto me." He stopped all the adults and said, "Hey, bring up the kids." And so, serving, I'm telling you, our leadership in the Indiana district, the children's ministry is phenomenal. Brother Adam Faulkner, Brother Steve Addison, they do a fantastic job. They're passionate. They love the children. I tell you, one of the things that stood out to me the most, and we've mentioned how I grew up and just always being down at the campgrounds in Louisiana. It's a great campground down there. And but realizing when I first started going to, let's see, we moved up here in 2010, and so when we started going to the family camps and the youth, the Sunday school camps, youth camps, I realized that every year the next year we'd go back, they're always making improvements. They're always doing, there's a work day, they're always doing stuff to improve that. And that meant a lot to me, because it just means that the children are important, the young people are important. They want to, do the best of the best for them. And there's always improvements, there's always work days, and that just stood out to me because it's important. Our children are important, our young people are important. And so I love this role that I serve in, and I'm honored to do it, and I want to do it the best that I can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like this one. I think it tastes good.
Mm-hmm. It's got good flavor.
Mm-hmm. So another ministry that you mentioned that you were involved in was youth ministry.
Yes.
What's the best piece of advice you can give to this generation of young people that wants to be involved in ministry?
Believe in yourself. That was something that I struggled with.
I did as well.
Yeah, and I think it's common. I think it's something. I do think it's something good for someone to go through, because your character, who you are, is built on the fact that you depend on God. That we're not. There's always places for improvement. There's always, the ministry can grow. Just putting one foot in front of the other. We're not. When God calls us, we're not what we need to be at that. We're not the finished product.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But there's room to grow, and so just putting that one foot. The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. I had to keep telling myself that we walk by faith and not by sight. It's not a sprint. It's a walk. And so I remember, along the lines of just telling the young people to believe in themselves. I remember when I first went to Bible college. I remember there was a time, and it was. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I had been at Bible college for 2 or 3 months. It was starting to kind of settle in, and I remember thinking as I was in my room, I didn't really feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like, I started looking around. I didn't have, in my mind, I didn't have the right last name. or I didn't come. My dad wasn't a preacher. He was a worship leader. My papa wasn't a preacher. I didn't come from a long line of preachers, and others did. And it wasn't anything that they were telling me. It was just things I was starting to battle for myself, and I felt like I didn't belong, and I started questioning everything. We start shaking our clay fists at God. Like, I know you made me, but I don't know if you know what you're doing right now. We're shaking that clay fist at the Creator. I think you messed up. And so I was having a pity party, and I was starting to doubt and starting to question and starting to think of, maybe I'll just go back to secular college and, go find a job I just remember feeling that way and I was in the room just kind of starting to have all these feelings, and I remember God impressed in my spirit. He said, I felt like I was going through a valley at the moment. And I remember feeling impressed in my spirit that he said, get everything you can while you're going through this valley. Get everything you can, all the vegetation you can get, because when you get on the mountaintop, no vegetation grows. So you're going to live off what you get in the valley. Because a valley is just made because there's two mountains. Yeah. And so if you keep walking, like we're saying, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, eventually you're going to run into the mountain and you're going to climb it, and you're going to, not all mountains are, easy climbing. I remember T.F. Tenney said, someone came to him and said, man, this mountain I'm facing is rough. And he said, well, good, because you can't climb a smooth mountain. Yeah. And so, but you'll get to the top of the mountain, and I felt impressed, get all the vegetation, because it's in the valley where we develop prayer lives. Yeah. It's in the valley where we learn to have a relationship with God, and we pray and we fast and we build that relationship. Our faith is increased. Yeah. And so when we do get to the mountain where things are good, bills are paid and just things are good, you're going to live off what you got in the valley.
It reminds me of a quote I heard, and I use it to this day. It's before there's a season of elevation, there's a season of preparation.
All right.
So it's kind of goes with what you're saying about getting the vegetation in the valley. You're in that season of preparation before you get to that season of elevation where you're going to go to the mountaintop.
That's great. And I wish I would have known that, because when you're going through it, you don't have the memes on Facebook to encourage you. This was before that. And so I had this talk with God, and so, but I was like, yeah, Lord, okay, that's good. Vegetation grow, and but the thing about going through the valley and going through the wilderness or going through the trial, whatever you want to call it, the analogy is when you're going through it, it's indefinite. Yeah. You don't know. Looking back now, I can see where it began and where it ended. But when I'm going through it, when you're going through it, when whoever's going through it, those that are watching, it's indefinite. You don't know. And that's where the faith is. Mm-hmm. It's okay, God, I'm just going to keep walking. I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and eventually the elevation will come. Right. But so I kept, Lord, I'm not qualified. I'm not this. And I started listing everything that I'm not. And there's a lot of things that I'm not. I still question, Lord, you call this crazy Cajun from Louisiana. But
crazy Cajun.
God, I felt that he said, if I didn't use people who failed, who would I use?
Right. Mm.
And so
that's good.
Said,
wow, that's
what?
Deep.
We'll keep on, and thank God I stuck with it. And so if I could encourage, like you said, just a bit of advice, just believe in yourself. Yeah. There's more potential in our young people than they realize. And as leaders and as pastors and as youth leaders, as children ministry leaders, I believe it's our responsibility to let them know and to remind them that, hey, you've got potential. There's so much power that you've got. And another thing, I want to say this as well, because as a parent now with a 12-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, the world is crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on, and the enemy would like to say, well, beat you up. Why do we bring children into this world, and why? And you start kind of thinking, man, our kids gonna make it? Our kids, but our children were built for this. Our kids were built for this. There's an army rising up. I see it at the youth rallies. We have a youth rally coming up this tomorrow night, and we have youth rallies, and you see our young people are built for this. They're capable. God has put a ministry on them and an anointing on them for this day and age. So don't feel bad for bringing children into this world, and for our youth leaders and our pastors, man, let's keep encouraging them, because they're built for this.
Right.
They're built for this. There's an army rising up,
Yeah.
and it's fun to see. I love watching them grow. I love the potential and the anointing that's on their lives. We have apostolic revival church, and you do too, when our young people lead.
Yeah.
And it's because of the mantle and the anointing that's been placed on them. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This one's very good too.
All right. Not too bad. I'm holding on so far.
So we're halfway done.
Hey.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah?
good.
All right.
I'm good. We'll see if I can sleep tonight. But so far, so good.
So now, you are the pastor of Portage UPC, once pastored by the great James Fielder.
Yes.
What was that whole process like for you, having that conversation about taking over that church? And were you at all nervous about being a pastor and taking over a church that has already been established?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a blessing, such an honor. That church is so great. And as you mentioned, I'm the sixth pastor. Bishop Fielder pastored for 40 years, and then before him was Brother Henson. And I stand on the shoulders of these apostolic giants of the faith. I thank God every day for the blessing, for the calling. And like I said, growing up in South Louisiana, I was 20 minutes from the Gulf of Mexico and 20 minutes from Texas. We were southwest.
Okay.
North Louisiana, they were northerners. I'd have never thought I'd end up in northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
But that's the whole just trusting God. And so we got the call from Bishop Fielder, and just asking us to come and assist him and with the plans of the transition whenever he would retire. And so we assisted. We came to Portage in 2014 and just assisted him for 6 years, and we were elected April 3rd, 2019, which is my birthday.
Oh,
so
wow.
Wednesday night. We were elected as pastor, and just humbling, and just kept pinching myself. Lord, are you sure? Is this you got the right one? And but no, I love it. I love that church, and I love Bishop Fielder, and just the guidance and leadership that he has helped me with. I remember a man of God at one of the conferences that we had for young preachers. I remember sitting around the table and him telling us that we need to have 3 men in our life: your pastor, your mentor, and your elder. And so my pastor is Pastor Rick Treese in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My mentor is Pastor Rob Jones, pastors in Las Vegas, my best friend. And my elder is Bishop Fielder. And so there's not a decision that I make, a major decision, that I'm not texting one of those men and letting them speak into my life. And I want to say, it's very important who you let speak into your life.
Right. Absolutely.
Not everyone's as excited about your dreams as you are. And so when this man, it was a pastor that came and was teaching this seminar, that was very powerful. That was very good advice just surround yourself with people that you trust, men that will not just tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what they've heard from God. And so Bishop Fielder has been a very strong person for me. And even when we were having the conversations about this transition, and it's been a smooth transition, and it doesn't always happen that way, but because of the way he set it up and the way that God has wanted it to go, it's been great. And we were talking about I told him, I said, you don't have to go anywhere. Just because we're making this transition and I'm going to be the pastor, you don't have to go anywhere. It's a blessing that he's two doors down. His office is 2 doors down from mine. If I have a question, if there's a concern, if there's something that's over my head, and believe me, that happens quite often. I'm still learning, and so I just go down to his office and talk to him about it, and it's just great having that elder in my life.
Yeah.
I love him. He's an apostolic giant, as I've mentioned, and I just thank God for the way everything has been orchestrated. He's a strong support to me and my family, supports us, helps us, and it's been great. It's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Couldn't be better.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. That is. Feel that one.
Who would you say has had the biggest impact on your life to help you guide you along the way on your spiritual journey?
I would say my dad and my grandfather, as I mentioned before, my pawpaw. Just as I mentioned, my dad wasn't a preacher, but being the song leader, worship leader, testifying, and just that godly example, I look back now. I didn't quite understand it, as a little kid growing up 4, 5, 6 years old, sitting on the front row. But I was blessed to have my parents in church and always having us there. I mean, we'd have Sunday morning church, Sunday evening church, but in between we'd have music practice, musician practice, choir practice, praise sing practice. So really, after Sunday school, we'd just go across the street to Pizza Hut, and then we'd come back to church, and we were there all day. And so just watching my dad worship and looking back now, and I still have video clips of him just shouting across the platform. He taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to build things. He taught me about cars and baseball, but one of the greatest things that my dad ever taught me was how to worship. And then my pawpaw, he was just a powerful influence in my life. He taught me how to pray. He taught me how to give thanks to God for everything. In everything, give him thanks. We'd be out in the front yard hitting baseballs, and over the big tree was the home run. And if I hit a home run, I'm running around the base, like, yeah, I got a hold of that one. He'd say, thank the Lord. I'm like, Papa, I hit the ball. It had nothing to do with the Lord, But he'd always say, thank the Lord and give praise to God. And I remember one time in the garage, ooh, this one's hitting. I remember one time we were out in the garage and we were building something. My papa was a carpenter. And we were always, I think we might have been building a tree house or something. And we had lumber out in the yard, and it started to rain. But we really needed to get this project done. Maybe it wasn't a tree. I can't remember what it was. It was pretty important. And I remember him saying, you know what, we need to get that lumber in. But it was a deluge. I mean, it was a Louisiana rain where it comes down. It might be for 15 or 30 minutes, but for those 15 or 30 minutes, it is raining.
Yeah, making another swamp.
And so I remember him walking out to the edge of the garage and saying, Lord, I need you to have it stop raining so we can get this lumber in. And sure enough, it stopped raining. We got the lumber in, and as soon as we got the lumber in, it started raining again. Wow. And I'll never forget that picture as a young boy. Wow, Pawpaw. So my dad, my Pawpaw, they were my heroes growing up.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'd sit on the front row. My Pawpaw would sit on the front row, and he'd have a line of about 8 or 10 10 young boys just sitting there, and we'd all get a peppermint before church. But he made sure we were all engaged and all sitting on the front row, and so he was my hero. But he was a lot of our guys' heroes. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
But I've been blessed. God has been good to us.
Great.
We better keep going, man. Starting to get tough.
Well, we have the milk on standby whenever you're ready.
Just ask a question.
Pastoring a church while raising a family with small children is no easy feat.
Right.
Oftentimes, pastors' kids feel that their parents put the needs of everybody else above their own. What are some ways that pastors can reassure their kids that they are just as or even more important than everybody else?
Yeah, it's balance. I mean, it's, it's God first, family, and then ministry. And if you keep that the order, then it'll work out. And there are times, there are sacrifices that have to be made. And the family, you talk with the family, and they understand that. But there are times where you just you have to put your family first, and so it's a balance. It's a balance. But I've been blessed. My wife is unbelievable. God bless me. I tell you, it's important marrying the right one, and knowing it can make or break a ministry. But my wife has been very supportive throughout all of the moves and all of the just every step along the way. She's been my biggest and strongest supporter, and so it's been a blessing. So yeah, just make sure they know that they're important, they're valuable, they're every bit as much of the ministry as you are.
Right.
And you doing okay over there?
I'm here.
Yeah, my eyes are watering, but I'm hanging in there. That was a good question. I like that. It's important to involve your family, and it's a blessing also when your family's involved in the church and used and so yeah. I think number 8's gonna be it.
This is the worst one.
That's a big old piece. All right, let's go. You good? Hat right there will grow hair on your tongue right now. There's milk, brother. Go ahead.
Growing up, going to church as kids, we've all experienced late nights, whether it be church services that lasted a long time, special dinners, youth events, whatever.
Yeah, late nights.
And there were times where myself or other kids would find a comfortable pew, if it was padded,
Yeah.
and take a nap. Have you ever taken one of those naps?
Oh yeah, we talked about it. I fell asleep under the choir bench, and I was left at church. But that wasn't the only time. There's something about naps on Sundays. There's something about naps under the pew. They're powerful.
Find a nice leather Bible as a pillow.
Yeah, you lay with your comforter, But yeah, there were times that I'm not proud of it, but I'd write things under the pews. We had wooden pews, and I'd had to go and clean that off. But yeah, that's my heritage, man. I wouldn't trade anything for that. Wouldn't trade. It's rough. It's getting rough.
You think you could do another one?
I think we can do another one. Gotta stretch ourselves. Push.
I'm about to have stammering lips. Oh. All right.
Ready?
Man, you're the one pushing me, man.
I don't even want to eat this chicken.
You officially have crossed the threshold and made it farther than any man before you. How do you feel?
Stuffed. I don't know if we're gonna be able to eat that last one. Hanging in there. I think that number 8 was the.
Yeah, that was a pinnacle, man.
That was hot, man. That was like revival in your mouth. That was hot.
Pass me those napkins, please.
Yeah. Woo! We gonna make it, man.
I'm leaking from every part of my body. So tell us, what's your most embarrassing preaching moment?
Oh, I am trying to think. I know I've knocked a water bottle over while I was preaching because we get excited and the whole bottle.
Just during this interview, you put your hand on the table about 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. That's because I can't feel my hand. Knocked a water bottle over. I've put Moses in the ark. It was Noah. just saying things like that. And the church is very forgiving, but they will remind you. They don't miss a thing. You ever wonder if the church is paying attention? Just say something like Paul was preaching the day of Pentecost, or mess up, and man, they will let you know. So I think my embarrassing moments were things like knocking the water bottle over, or I can't feel my tongue.
I see the water. I feel drunk right now off hot sauce.
Yeah. That last one's gonna be tough to eat.
Oh man.
Because I am not hungry at all. This is a good weight loss program. Want to lose weight? Just eat number 8.
Man, I'm feeling
whatever number 8 was. That's rough.
The bomb.
The bomb.
It's like a nuclear.
I feel like a bomb went off in my mouth.
We officially made it all the way through without any milk.
I'm feeling it.
My teeth are numb. I can't even feel myself chewing.
Yeah. I think I bit my tongue like 3 times. I didn't know it was there. Woo!
We made it.
We did it.
We made it to the mountaintop. Tell us before we leave here, what is your 3 top favorite songs that are sung at churches today?
I love now song titles sometimes. I think it's Fighting For Us, Never Lost, and I love Waymaker.
Okay.
Waymaker. Yeah.
Those are 3 good ones. All right. Pastor Mike, you demolished these hot wings today.
We did it.
The first time ever on the show, 4 episodes in now. We made it all the way through.
It took a boy from Louisiana.
Didn't touch the milk. It must be something in that Cajun blood.
I'm feeling it though, man. It's been a while since, as young people, we were, just young and dumb, and we would have contests where we would drink hot sauce out of the bottle until one of us couldn't go any longer. One of us threw up, and that's just, That's before phones and devices. You just find games, and that was one of them. So,
well,
we did it.
We did it. You definitely spit some real fire for us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much
I appreciate
for partaking in this
opportunity.
crazy interview. We loved having you. You nailed it. You killed the wings. We haven't touched the milk. Before we log off, look into the camera and let the people know how you're feeling and if you plan on drinking a sip of milk off camera.
I'm not going to drink a sip of milk off camera. I challenge myself. But I am feeling it. Like I said, it's like revival in my mouth. It's fire. It's hot. But feels good. God bless you.
Pastor Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, man. That's it.
Yeah, I love you, man. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And you don't want no milk.
Don't want any milk.